everyone's heartbeat's the same, even though you go from different persons to person. It's within very small range, and it's beating at the same rate. That's impossible. What if people are overweight, and what if people have low heart rate, like in athletes? And this doesn't make any sense unless there's a science to it. This symphony is further augmented by the excitation of neurons created by the drugs. This makes raves and addiction This makes raves and the experience a tremendous experience, which is extremely powerful and thus addictive. Actually, this feeling of ecstasy and rapture is how we communicate at the musical level. This is also the reason why raves are so intoxicating, as for the first time, your soul is talking. The problem with but it's an incorrect notion. It just hasn't danced like this at the conscious level. So it's a misconception, because it is you that realizes that what you're feeling is what you ought to always be feeling. So we trance. It's a very descript and ambiguous word. And you are trancing because you're all vibing or rolling the same way, the same rate, the same heartbeat, the same feeling, the same sound. And you are in trance, in tune. So, I mean, there's so many things. The problem with attaining this level with drugs in a controlled environment where non-biased or surprise actions can happen is that it taxes the body, messes with your natural biochemistry, and rewires everything with happiness. Therefore, drugs equals happiness, and that's the addiction. And since we can only go out once or twice a week, this happiness is a false state of being, and we are disappointed 5 days of the week. So we're just waiting to go out and do drugs. Happiness, happiness. How is that life? How is that happiness? And how can that equate to drugs? Well, it does. It rewires to equate to drugs, and we feel it. The same wiring that makes you react from seeing a snake, the fear, you react to happiness. Why is it that you have to be wired to fear all the time? Well, it's simple. Your brain's a computer. It can wire to feel happiness, sadness, joy, disappointment, dissatisfaction, anger, anguish, pain. It can be wired to all these things, and that's where the misconception, the addiction, and the disorders begin to cause illness. So also drugs which alters and occasionally distorts realities if used for non-recreational drugs. It rewires the brain incorrectly with feelings, logic, and with space-time distortions. This space-time distortions causes the person to feel lost, and to them this doesn't feel. They don't see that. And because the feeling that they have that has been wired to these experiences are pleasant and they are logically trapped inside a self-created false reality. So they're breaking things, behaving terribly, because feeling is right, meaning it is okay to do these things as their sense of reality is distorted. As they continue to reproduce these same behaviors without being corrected, they begin to rewire their brains incorrectly. For more, Joe Dispenza from Ramtha School of Enlightenment explains this as he is an actual I don't know if he's a neuroscientist, but he's definitely a scientist that really taught me what actually happens in the brain and what actually it thinks and what it's wired to think and wired to pick up. You'd be amazed. And they actually place electrodes on the eye, and the beam, the dot, which is their brain, and what they're seeing, they go right to the breast and right to the bum, and that's just one way. That's sexual, not addiction, but programmed to procreate, which is a necessity, and we're wired to do this. And you could see that even millionaires that have a lot of self-control and discipline still are prey to this. They're trapped as much as we all are. And so, I mean, we all go through this. I mean, this is the system, and it chooses no favorites. The elitists have to go through it too. They can't be enlightened either until they break this cycle, and some of them don't even get enlightened. So, they're not allowed to be partially enlightened. Never mind being fully enlightened. They have to reincarnate and do the whole thing again. And for the elitists, they don't get a second time around. That's it. Once you fail, you're done, man. Because it's so unfair, but it's fair. Because what they're getting at the end of the line is 10 times more than what they signed up for. But everything's there for them to figure it out. And they're lucky for that. But, I mean, they have to go through 10 times worse. And that's where it's unfair. Because the mental side of the average everyday Joe is, it breaks them down. It breaks their resolve. They're starving. They're hungry all the time. They're poor and unfortunate. I'd like to say misfortunate. And they don't have the opportunities because they're discredited and they don't get the chances for people to see their talent and their creativity and their skills. Meanwhile, they're lucky because they get a better shot because they have all the hard working, the blood money to make it happen. But, they're mentally tortured because they're not lied to, but it's repressed. We're all lied to. That's what the system does. It makes angels out of us. Why not? Why not allow us to find the truth so that we can all be enlightened, become angels, and live forever? We're all angels in here. When we die, we're angels. When we live, we're angels. We just don't see it. And because of that, we have to find that God in us, God in you, God in everyone, God in life, God in eternity. And because of that, we have to bring God to us by us finding God. And together we can build this synergy and unite all the kingdoms. So, the instructions to the brain are as this: behavior, and therefore this reaction is okay as long as it feels alright. This conclusion draws me to believe that any and all behavior to this and that makes me feel better, or to get more drugs to feel better, to feel the same thing, is to them worth it. What they and the therapist fail to understand is that just talking without actually reintegrating physical constructs of being there or inside the incorrect memory needs to be adjusted, must be on the fly. So let me repeat that. So the instructions to the brain follows as this: behavior, and therefore the reaction is okay as long as they feel it. This conclusion draws me to believe that any and all behavior to them makes me feel better, or to get more drugs to feel better. And in doing either to make them feel better is to them worth it. And whatever processes in transition are all the same, worth it. Therein, what they and the therapist fail to understand is that just talking without actually reintegrating physical constructs of being there, actually being inside the memory or inside their head, or inside the incorrect memory, needs to be adjusted, must be on the fly, spontaneous, and an actual moment, or in an environment where the addiction is happening. Since we cannot give the drugs and let the memories take place, because then it's uncontrolled and everything's fake, and then they go into a different reality, and you never can fix that. It's chemical, it's not controllable, because the brain is releasing these chemicals to constantly make them feel this way. So no matter what you do to them, even if you were to stop the music, they'll still be in their world. So I mean, it's a little crazy, man. So this is where spiritual healing, so this can be achieved since we cannot give them the drugs and let the memories take place. We need to activate the memories using frequency, using an altered reality. This can be, or putting them into a state of an altered state, or hypnosis. Hypnosis is not good because they're not conscious. Hypnosis is only for very severe traumatic suicidal cases. And hypnosis does work. It does work for people. But if they don't know how they made it happen, they're always going to be paranoid of what and how it got to be like that. They don't have the willpower. They don't have the experiences. So then you're giving them ascension. You're giving them enlightenment. A state of enlightenment. Of achievement. Not enlightenment, but of achievement in a causality. In enlightenment. Of it, not of it. So, like an eureka moment without earning it. So, it's like cheat notes, but actual real cheat notes instead of assistant notes or open book. And they don't get better, and they end up relapsing. And if you don't relapse, they're put into another state where, oh my God, my wife just left me, I'm freaking going crazy, and I don't know what to do, and then they do drugs again. And it becomes 10 times worse. They might even become so bad that they refuse to go to a doctor. And, it's like, because they're paranoid, That's hypnosis. That's what happens when you do things that are conscious but are not conscious. But for very low-level things, I mean, it works. It actually does work. It like for smoking and things like